Hey everybody, my name's Darrell Robert. Welcome back to Journey to VR. This week's topic's all about rendering. I'm going to show you how we can render out my reality captured environment and get it onto something like a Google Cardboard. It's really easy to do and it's super fun. So what we're going to be using is we're going to be using Dome Master 3D. This is a great plugin. It works with a variety of software, both Max and Maya, and a bunch of different renderers. So we're going to be using it with Max and Mental Ray, and I'll quickly show you Maya with Arnold. And what it does is it's essentially a fancy lens shader. It allows you to format the renders in multiple varieties. We're going to be doing lat-long stereo maps because they're going to go into YouTube video very easily. And it does a couple of things that are really nice. It does have a great ability to handle traditional problem areas at the tops of the environment. So the poles, basically, if you've got stereo cameras and they're kind of looking down and they've got an interocular distance and they're shooting down, in your main area, it's fine. But when you get to the pole, well, what happens? You can get into all these weird problems where basically the stereo doesn't work and there's these weird flipping issues that happen. So the idea is, and this is from the Chaos Group, this is a really great little PDF they put together about VR. The idea is as you start to look up to the poles, you essentially turn off the stereo effect. So you take your cameras that used to be separated by, in my example, 6.5 centimeters, kind of the distance of my eyes. As you go up to the poles, it basically does a transition and those cameras converge down and become one single point. So you turn the stereo effect off at the poles. And you don't really notice it. The idea is that basically you're normally going to be looking around the environment, not at the poles. So losing that little bit of stereo information isn't that big of a deal, and it fixes all the traditional flipping and kind of weirdness that happens at those poles. So that's one of the things that the Dome Master shader has the ability to do, which is super, super cool. So let's go ahead and jump over to Max, and I'll walk you through the process of setting it up. All right, so here we are inside of Max. I've already downloaded and installed the Dome Master plugin in both Max and Maya. So this is my reality captured environment that John Tojak's been putting together for me. And what we want to do is we want to get this onto, rendered out in a 360-degree video onto a YouTube. So it's pretty straightforward. First thing you need to do is make sure that your renderer is set up to use Mental Ray. So I've gone ahead and I've done that. The next thing is we need to specify the image size. So we're going to go back to the Common tab, and I'm doing a lat-long stereo map. So I want to make sure that it's twice as wide as it is high. So for this demo, we'll do 2K by 1K, pretty straightforward. So the next step is basically adding on the lens shader. So we'll scroll down here to the camera shaders and we'll map a lens shader into this. So in the map section now, you can see that there's several new options. These are all different variations of types of 360-degree views. We're going to use the lat-long stereo shader. So we'll go ahead and we'll grab that guy. And with that attached, basically every camera now in my scene is going to render with that. But we really want to have a camera that's facing straight up. So how do you do that? Well, it's pretty straightforward. We'll just go in here and we'll say, create a camera, and we'll create a free camera, and we'll just kind of drop it in our environment and just kind of rise that guy up, and we'll spin it around 180. So now we've got our camera kind of positioned where we want it, but I need to modify a few things on that lens shader. So to do that, all we have to do is jump over to the Slate editor and drag and drop that lens shader into this so that we can begin working with it. So if we double click on it, you can see that we have some parameters that we can adjust here. So a couple of them that I want to change. So this is actually really pretty cool. So the camera has both the left, the right, and the center. So it's a full stereo camera captured in this lens shader. So we're going to render out the left side. The parallax plane, this is basically like where does the stereo stop. So we'll make this a little bit smaller, something like 200. This is all in units here. And now this is where it really starts to get interesting, and this is what's important. So we've got camera separation. So this is going to adjust the camera so that they match your interocular distance. So 6.5 centimeters is how far apart our cameras are. Now you remember I talked about the fact that when you've got your stereo cameras pointing forward and you're looking at the horizon, stereo works really well. But when you start to go up to the pole, things start to converge and it gets all weird, and the stereo doesn't know which way, what side you're on the pole, and it just doesn't work. So what we want to do is we want to use a couple of the really sophisticated things that this lens shader can do to fix those problems at the pole. We want to make sure that we're going to go ahead and multiply something in there to make those cameras zero themselves out so that there's no distance when you're looking up. So how do you do that? It's very simple. You just use this separation map. So this just uses a grayscale image to multiply times this camera separation value. So we'll go ahead and we'll map that guy with a standard bitmap. And the thing that's great about the Dome Master plugin that Andrew did is he included some sample source images for dealing with those poles based on what type of lens shader you've chosen. So we chose the lat long one. So that's the stereo separation map that we want to use. So we'll grab the lat long separation map. And the next thing that we want to do on this guy is double click on it and switch it from being a straight texture to being in screen space. So just put it to Enviro screen space and that's all set. The last thing that I'm going to do is just turn on Zenith mode. So this is going to make my my lat long map basically the top be the top and the bottom be the bottom, and it's just going to look right. So with all that done, we can go ahead and close that down and view through this camera, and we'll render out our scene here. So we'll just hit Shift Q and we'll render this guy out, and you can see here it comes. And obviously this is using Mental Ray. So the first thing that we're seeing is the final gather pass, and then it's kind of going through and it'll refine and refine out. But you get this really nice sense of what that 360 render looks like. So obviously we render out a sequence for the left channel and we render out a sequence for the right channel. And that's really all there is to it. That's really straightforward when using the Dome Master plugin. That's actually, it's free. So that's super, super cool. So the next thing I want to do is just escape out of this render, and we'll jump over into Maya really quickly, and I'll show you basically the same workflow. It's very, very similar. The Dome Master plugin, when you install it on Maya, gives you the ability to have a couple shelves. These just set up like what type of dome camera thing do you want to make, you know, change your render resolution. So there's a little shelf that kind of helps you around with some stuff. But if we grab the camera, you can see that it's, I'm using Arnold, so it's an Arnold lat long camera. And on the camera in the Arnold section, you can see, you know, this is where you can specify what type of camera you want it to be. So obviously lat long is what we were just looking at inside of 3ds Max, and it's all the same stuff, right? So if you switch it over to the left channel here, you know, you've got your 0 parallax distance, you've got the same camera separation, the zenith mode, and then you still have the custom map, which allows you to do the separation and multiply something into there to fix the pole. So really straightforward. And then obviously if we just go ahead and we grab this guy and we render out something like this guy right here, you know, it's going to give us a very similar effect, right? It's going to be the same basic idea, right? It's going to be this nice lat long map. Obviously this time we're using Arnold as a renderer as opposed to Mental Ray like we were using in 3ds Max. But that is basically it. So once you do this, there's a little bit of processing that you need to do, a little bit of post work that you need to do to format this and get it onto YouTube. So I'll walk you through that right now. So we can go ahead and escape this out and we'll jump over into After Effects. So inside of After Effects, what we're going to do is we're going to do an over-under. This is what YouTube wants you to do. So essentially we want to stack the left image on top of the right image. So we'll just create a new comp. And in this new comp, I rendered out 4K images. So we'll just make it 4096 by 4096. We'll go ahead and we'll do that. And then we'll import in our render. So we've got our max left and our max right. So we'll import those guys in. So it's always left on top of right. So you just kind of stack that guy there and this guy here. And with that done, you're ready to basically export out your movie. So you just make a QuickTime movie, send it out, and I'm not going to do that because obviously you guys all know how to do that. But what you end up doing is you end up getting, you know, you get this guy, right? So we can just open this with VLC, which is cool. The problem is if I dragged and dropped this onto YouTube and uploaded it, it wouldn't know that it's a stereo. It doesn't know just by the formatting of this out of After Effects that it's actually a stereo render. So how do we fix that? Well, it's really easy to do. And it doesn't know that it's a VR thing, that it's a dome, right? So how do you fix that? Well, it's really easy. And actually on YouTube, they have a VR help section. So uploading virtual reality movies, it gives you some tips, you know, like these are the file sizes that you want to try to get to. But it also comes down here, and this is the important part where it says creating 360 embedded video with an app. So basically embedding that metadata that lets YouTube know, hey, this is a 360 video. Make sure the player is configured to do all that 360 video stuff. So you just basically download that guy, and once you have that, it allows you to run and embed metadata. So this is the app that I downloaded from YouTube. So you basically start it up. It takes a few seconds to do that. It says go ahead and find a file. So we'll just grab this Comp1 movie. And with that done, I just click both of those guys on, saying that it's a spherical video and it's a top to bottom layout. And then we'll just say inject metadata. And it, you know, it gives it a basically injected, underscore injected suffix. And with that done, we now have our injected video that you would basically then just jump over to the upload section and drag and drop that guy in there. And this is what you end up having is a dome that is, you know, rendered out of the Mental Ray and 3ds Max. So that's super, super, super cool. And the really fun thing is if you look at it on a phone, which I have right here, let's just go ahead and spin that guy around so you can see
there it is on the phone. And if you click on this guy and you go to cardboard mode, it automatically does the stuff to get it so that it's going to work really well with these lenses. So as you move around this guy, it's your render, it's your environment. So that is it in a nutshell. Super easy. Really, really love it. Works great with Max, works great with Maya, and in a few minutes you can get something that you can send off to people to show them what VR is all about. So thank you so much for taking the time to watch Journey to VR. Please make sure you go back to the Journey to VR blog section. We're putting up tons of content on it every week, both video-based blogging as well as written articles, and there's lots of cool content on there. So again, thank you so much for checking it out. Cheers, everybody.